right.
Welcome, admitted ninth graders and your families, to our virtual ninth grade program panel. My name is Allison Marsland. I'm a member of the admission team, and I'm also one of the ninth grade deans, and I'm delighted to welcome you here this evening. I'm certainly disappointed to not be able to do this in person. We have gathered a group of people who are important to the ninth grade program, and we are appropriately distanced. There are 3 of us in this building in our own separate offices, and most of us are in our own homes. But we have agreed to come together to do this, and I'm so pleased to welcome, in addition to our admitted families, members of the faculty who are part of the ninth grade program, my co-ninth grade dean, our head of school, a current parent, current students, and members of the admission team who are also here and will be available behind the scenes. Probably one of the most important things to do tonight is to convey to you some of the specifics of the ninth grade program and our enthusiasm for it. We have your questions that we are prepared to answer, but I am going to let our host, Captain Derek Cunha, explain to you how this is going to work, and we'll start there.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Marsland. So so I'm going to be trying to moderate this chat as best as possible. Just a quick disclosure: this session is being recorded. As an admission team, we just thought it'd be smart just to let you all know that it is being recorded. Over the last day or so, questions have been rolling in that have been submitted online and directly to our interviewers. So we've used those as kind of our priority to get to. As we go through, we're going to try to get through as many of those as possible, and we hope to get through them, being mindful of trying to keep this within the hour. From there, you're also going to have the opportunity to type in questions. So one of the functionalities of Zoom is that on most of you on the right-hand side of your screen, you should be able to see a section to be able to type a message. If you type a message to me, what I'll try to do is I'll try to get your question into the queue. I'll try to direct it as best as possible. And in the end, what we're aiming for is accessibility. And one of the things when we host our admitted student days, we want every student and parent to leave campus feeling that everything that they wanted to know was answered. So we're going to try to duplicate that as best as possible here tonight. And in the event within that hour that we can't do it, even today, our admission officers, we were reaching out to families trying to answer those lingering questions from yesterday. So our goal is to try to get through as many as possible, and we will do our best. But in the event that we don't get to your question or it's not answered to the totality that you were looking for, we will do our best to kind of reconnect with you. Just a couple notes here. When you look at your Zoom setup, if you haven't been on this before, there's both speaker view and gallery view. You can choose whatever you like. I tend to go on gallery view. Speaker view will switch to whoever's speaking, so that is up to you. When faculty and students from Williston are speaking, next to their name, you should be able to see where they're from in terms of what department, if they're a student, their graduation year, just to help give you a little context of who is talking. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Hill. One of the things that we want to get started with is just knowing kind of what makes the ninth grade program so unique at Williston and what your experience is.
Thanks, Mr. Cunha. Hi, everybody, and welcome also to our virtual world here. What a strange time, and I'm sure that everyone I'm talking to has had a life that's or their lives are disrupted too, especially prospective ninth graders. So I'm empathizing with you, and I really hope tonight helps you get a good sense of all the people here at Williston who are ready and raring to have you come join us next fall. We'd love to see you. I think briefly to answer the question, what makes it so special, the ninth grade program? First of all, I'm going to give a shout out to my 2 colleagues, Mr. Sawyer and Ms. Marsland, who are they're the Alexander Hamilton and Dolly Madison. They're the founding father and mother of the program. And so we've seen it develop over the years into this incredibly robust program of fun things on the one hand and a lot of attention from caring people on the other. It's a big team of adults who watch over the ninth graders in a way that brings the class together that lasts for 4 years and beyond. So I think it's one of the great aspects of Williston as the ninth grade program, since it's a bonding experience that creates the friendships that you're going to have really for a lifetime. I've worked at some other schools, and lots of places talk about ninth grade programs or citizenship programs, things like that. But one thing I think Williston does better than anybody is this ninth grade program. And it's hats off to my colleagues, Matt and Allison, for doing that. And I'm sure you're going to hear more about it, but I'm happy to take any questions offline as well. So I'll turn it back to Captain Cunha, our MC, and again, any questions I'll take.
All right, I think I'm up.
So we heard from Ms. Marsland to start. We're going to throw it over to Mr. Sawyer, who's one of her co-directors. So Mr. Sawyer, if you want to take over from here.
Great, thank you so much. Hi, everybody. Great to be here, and hopefully I and the rest of us can really help you as you think about Williston, the ninth grade program. So this is the 12th year of the program. Ms. Marsland and I started it, and we talked about it, I guess, 14, 15 years ago in preparation, and did a bunch of research, and really came up with something that we think is really special and important as students transition from their middle schools, whether it's from our own middle school or from all over the world, to Williston in the ninth grade. We want to make sure that you guys all have the support that you need to be successful at Williston. I've been here for 26 years, in addition to being the ninth grade dean and running the ninth grade program with Ms. Marsland. I teach ninth grade English. I teach an AP English and Composition class as well. I'm the head baseball coach. I'm also the head of John Hazen White dorm, which is the dorm for ninth graders and for some 10th graders as well. Mr. Cunha, Mr. Hanford, also who are also on this on the Zoom meeting, also live in the dorm with me and my family. I have my wife, Sarah, runs the Writing Center. My son, Will, is a sophomore right now, so went through the ninth grade program last year. My daughter, Anna, is a current 8th grader, so she'll be in the ninth grade next year, hopefully with a lot of you. The foundation of our program is our theme, which we established as CORE. The C stands for curiosity, the O for organization, the R for reflection, and the E for empathy. And we just feel it's really important for students to be curious, to be organized, to be reflective, to be empathetic, as ways to be successful learners and successful community members. There's 3 ways that we really support students and really establish CORE throughout the year. Maybe the most important way is that we have an amazing ninth grade advising team made up of about 12 to 14 adults who each have about 5 to 7 advisees. We meet weekly with our advisees in a formal way, but we see them informally all the time. For example, if you're a boarding student, your advisor will be a dorm parent. If you are a day student, your advisor will be one of your classroom teachers. So you'll see these adults who are there to support you all the time. We communicate a lot with the families as well. So, you know, the advisors will be communicating with families very often. Also, as a team, we meet bi-weekly. So, you know, every 2 weeks, we all get together, we talk about ways to support our advisees, to talk about students who might need support, maybe academically, others might need support emotionally or socially. We want to make sure that students don't fall through the cracks and that they are getting the support they need to be successful. Another way that we support students is with our core classes. I know Kate Garrity is here, and she runs those classes. She'll talk about those in more detail later. But students take 5 classes, and we have 7 periods. So there's a free period for each student, but also for the first 2 trimesters, there's also a daytime study hall. So once a week, there'll be a core class in that period, and then the other days, students will have a study hall and proctored by the ninth grade advising team. So we want to make sure that you're getting your work done, but that you're also being very particular in how you study and making sure that you're organized and getting all your work done. And then finally, the other part of the school year that we really use to establish CORE our ninth grade assemblies. So Ms. Marls and I run those assemblies. Just the ninth grade will be there with the ninth grade advising team. And we'll usually design it around a concept and core. So for example, we have an assembly designed around curiosity. We show a TED Talk by a spoken word poet named Sarah Kay. She was curious about spoken word poetry as a ninth grade student herself. And now she is kind of, world famous as a poet and travels to different schools and organizations to do poetry and to bring that richness of language to them. We have seniors come and reflect, the R is in core, on their experience at Williston, and talk to our ninth graders, for example, about what they've done that's really worked and what they might wanted to do differently if they had a chance to do it all over again. So with all of these different ways, I think that core is something that our ninth graders really are very familiar with, and they know that those concepts are really important for them to be the best that they can be during their ninth grade year.
The very beginning of our year, thank you, Mr. Sawyer, we go on an orientation trip together as a ninth grade, and there were two different questions that came in about that trip over our email. One was, what is the schedule of the orientation trip? Another was, how long is it? How early is it? And why do you do it? And so I wanted to talk a little bit about the fact that we gather all ninth grade advisors and all ninth graders. We head on a couple of buses off to the woods. We use every single second of that orientation trip in some deliberate way. The drive there, we're looking to make connections between kids. So we actually have them arranged in seats, and then we switch the seats midway through the ride, and you have to interview the person next to you and find commonalities, not be satisfied with just the first couple of questions, but really dig deep. And we learn school song, Sammy. And on arrival, we're working as a whole group to get out of our comfort zones, to enjoy some fun kinds of games, and to establish right away a way of treating each other with respect, and also to take some risks in that situation and know that it's okay to not be perfect at things. So we're teaching a growth mindset from the very first moment. Our scheduled trip continues with organized meals and cabins where we've arranged where kids will sit, because we're trying to engineer getting kids to know lots and lots of people in those early moments. And then in the evening, we bring our proctors up to campus to introduce students to the Williston feel community. We want our older kids to help the younger kids understand how to be confident, how to ask questions, how to find support, and really be comfortable in their own skin. And that night, we have a campfire that allows us to just let go. So nothing organized, but a chance to enjoy each other. And then the next day, we begin a curriculum that has us getting out of our comfort zones in low ropes, high ropes, canoe races / falling out of canoes, those sorts of things, depending on the weather. And by the time we come back to campus, we know lots of people, we're tired, we're dirty, we're happy, and we have a memory. And I believe that lots and lots of our students, virtually every student who's gone on the ninth grade trip, can tell you a person they sat next to on the bus. They can remember those things. Throughout the year, then, we continue with ninth grade socials, which promote the cohesion that we developed on those early days of the trip. And Mr. Sawyer and I align the ninth grade dorm. So we do have a dorm for ninth grade boys, a dorm for ninth grade girls. They are next to each other. John Hazen White, as Mr. Sawyer said, just opened last year. 194 Main Street, which I'm the head of, is the ninth grade girls dorm, opened in 2008. And both are beautiful facilities with gorgeous double rooms. We make certain that those dorms have similar standards, principles of practice, that we're promoting good character, good study habits. And so Mr. Sawyer and I meet weekly to discuss the schedules for those, and we feel it provides an excellent foundation.
Right.
Mr. Cunha, I'm handing it back to you.
Thanks, Ms. Marsland. I'll add another one of the memories I'm sure your ninth graders remember from this year is coming back from the trip and having the quad lined with the 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, cheering them on coming off the bus, which I thought was a nice touch. So new ninth graders, that was awesome to see last year. I am going to turn it over to Mr. Sawyer. And Mr. Sawyer, I think one of the questions that came in that maybe you can speak to is, what's a typical ninth grade schedule like? And the selection process, how much control do students have over it, and how are they guided through that process?
Yeah, sure. So like I mentioned earlier, students have 5 classes typically. They'll all take English, math class, a science class, a humanities class, and usually a language class. Now, depending on the student and where they're coming from and what their needs are, those can be changed, adjusted. I know that for most ninth graders take physics, some will take honors physics. Most ninth graders will take a geometry or an algebra class. They could be in honors classes. Some pretty amazing math students come and are a much higher level. In terms of humanities, I know that Ms. Klump will talk about that very soon, but for one trimester, it's a history elective, one trimester it's a religion elective, and one it's an art elective. So they can take different kinds of art classes like drawing or like filmmaking or photography. It's a pretty amazing new part of our ninth grade program. In terms of how those classes get selected for students and their families, I know that the admissions officer who interviews the family will be involved with our academic dean, Greg Tillea, who's been at Williston for a very, very long time. Over the summer, they work together making sure that the students have classes that are challenging, but also classes where they can be successful. And then as students get older and go through our curriculum, there's certainly opportunities to take AP classes in many, like I mentioned earlier, I teach an AP English class to juniors. And there's also opportunities for electives in most of our disciplines. So, obviously, purpose, passion, integrity is something I'm sure a lot of you have read about and heard about with Williston. And so we want to make sure that students can follow their passions and take courses that they're interested in and that really make them who they want to be.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sawyer. So we're going to turn it over now. We have 17 other questions that have come in online that we want to try to get to, and we're going to try to mix it up between both students and faculty. So we're going to turn it over to our first student here, which is going to be Jillian, and we're going to ask Jillian about the composition of the boarding day relationship. Williston has 70% boarding, 30% day students. How does the ninth grade program connect day and boarding students?
So hello, I'm Jillian. I'm class of 21 and I live in Southampton, so I'm a day student. A lot of the programs that have been talked about already, like the ninth grade trip, the core classes, those are really where I got my base friend group. And it's a mix of both day students and boarding students. And some of my closest boarding friends are friends that I made when we went to the ninth grade trip in the beginning of the year. And I've been in classes with them up until now, and I'm a junior. And I just really enjoy having the mix of cultures and getting that from the ninth grade program and being introduced at a young age to those different cultures, so you're not just boxed into America's culture or something like that.
All right. Thanks, Jillian. I'll add, when I first started at Williston 14 years ago, I taught a class, and I remember distinctly emailing a student asking them to come over to the dorm for extra help, and it was a day student, and I just didn't know the difference as a new faculty member between the day and the boarding students because they were just always around. I'm going to turn it over to AV, who's another student with us, about just the support system in the dorm. Being a student in the dorm, what are the support systems like, AV?
Hi, can you see me? Can everyone see me? Hi, everyone. I'm Anne Valerie, class of 21. I'm a third-year junior. I'm a dorm proctor in Memorial Hall East. So in terms of the support systems in the dorms, like Mr. Sawyer and Ms. Marsland mentioned, when you're a ninth grade boarder, you're going to be assigned to an advisor who's more often than not going to be a dorm parent in either 194 Main, which is the girls' freshman dorm, or John Hazen White, which is the boys' freshman dorm. So I was assigned to Miss Michalski, who lives in 194. She's a French teacher. And whenever she was on duty or whenever I just needed her, I could just walk over to her house, and I had really, really easy access to her. So those 6 dorm parents are really a great source for anything you might need as a freshman because they're very accessible. And you also have 4 to 6 dorm proctors who are juniors or seniors, and they're a really great way to get connected to upperclassmen as a freshman. And they're really great for advice, for getting a student perspective when it comes to classes or social life at Williston. So you have a mix of both experienced dorm parents who are there to support you as a 9th grader, as well as junior and senior dorm proctors.
All right, thank you, AV. So the I do want to just remind everybody, if you have questions along the way, and you can text them in on the group chat. So if anything comes in, we'll try to address them that way. So we're going to turn to Mr. Hanford now, who I'm going to ask you a question about English and how writing intensive is the 9th grade English program, and what kind of support is there?
Hey guys, how are you? Like Mr. Cunha said, my name is Mr. Hanford. I teach 9th grade English, live in the boys' dorm with my family and with Mr. Cunha and Mr. Sawyer, and I coach hockey and JV lacrosse. So as far as writing goes, we start out the year kind of just looking at, or spend a lot of the year looking at the paragraph. And we work on what's called a team paragraph, which is an acronym that we use throughout the you'll use throughout the 4 years of your time at Williston. And part of it, it's a way that you can, as a freshman, get used to the structure and carry it through all your writing, whether it be in standard English, history, AP, whatever it may be. So it stands for topic sentence or thesis. The E stands for examples. The A is analysis, and the M is mechanics. And basically we work on the craft and style of writing, and taking a thesis statement and supporting it with examples and analysis. We do a lot of that, and because a lot of us are coming from different places, from different middle schools, from different countries, and if we can all get on the same page early, it's going to help us out throughout the rest of your time here. In addition, like I said, history does the same thing. So everything that you're learning in English, you'll be doing the same thing in history and in some of the other disciplines as well. So it's a good rubric that the English department has created that puts us all on the same page so we know what we're talking about. So we'll do that. We'll do short pieces of writing almost every day. The first 5 minutes of class, we often do free writes or guided free writes, just to kind of get our ideas out there. So you're always writing, and at first you may write a sentence and say, I have nothing else to write. But as you keep going and as we keep doing it throughout the year, you start to write more and more and kind of get those ideas out onto the page, because how many times have we sat down and said, I got nothing to write, or I don't know how to get it from my head onto the page. And this is a way to kind of do that. In addition, we do creative writing. We write a short story in the first term after reading a number of short stories. And so a lot of the writing we do is analytical, but as well as creative writing as well. And in addition, there's not only class time where we talk about it and we run workshops on how to write and how to write better, but there's a writing center that's open during study hall and all throughout the day that is monitored by not only teachers but students. In addition, I live in the dorm, and so does Mr. Sawyer, and so we can help you when we're on duty or even when we're not on duty. It's not uncommon for somebody to come banging on the door and kind of asking us for some help. So we're always there for that. So whether you're a great writer, whether you're a terrible writer, which probably isn't the case anyway, but there's always somebody to help you out. Yeah, I think that's.
Thanks, Mr. Hanford.
You're welcome.
All right. So so now we're going to go. This is definitely a student question that came in. In terms of the food in the dining hall, it says, I'm a picky eater. How's the food in the dining hall? So I'm going to turn this one over to Jason.
Hello, hi everyone. I'm Jason. Among other things, I captain the swim team, which you can see if I stand up, and the water polo team, and I'm also a food lover. But I have a lot of friends who are picky eaters. Actually, I've been at Wilson for 6 years, so I've interacted with a lot of people who are picky eaters. But our dining hall has options available to pretty much everyone. We have breakfast, lunch, and dinner every weekday. And at lunch in particular, there's tons of options. There's a deli bar with different meats like turkey, ham, roast beef, and different breads. I'm a white kind of person, but some people like wheat. I understand. I respect it. There's also a hot food. There's different meats, veggies. We also have a grill and desserts, pasta every day, pizza every day. So there are tons of options for everyone. The dining hall staff, Sage, they're awesome and they're very receptive. And so a lot of people who have certain needs, like who are gluten-free, for instance, can talk to them and they're very, very helpful. So no matter what needs you have or what kind of food you like, there are plenty of options. I promise I've eaten it all. A lot of options, a lot of good options. Yeah.
All right, thank you. So I'm going to go over to, and a question did come in about gluten-free options. Yes, we have that. Essentially, if you have any sort of food allergies, things like that, we try to work with you through through our dining services. I'm going to go to Ms. Klump next, and Ms. Klump, can you explain what the 9th grade humanities program is?
Yes. Hello, everybody. First, I just want to introduce myself. So I've been teaching history and coaching JV field hockey here for nearly 20 years. And I've been in the 9th grade program since it started. And my son actually will be a 9th grader next year. So I'm looking forward to him being in the program. So the humanities program, we're in its 2nd year. And essentially you take 3 trimesters. One is a history course, one is a religious studies course, and one is your choice of an art class. So in all of the history and religion course, both you study skills, writing, discussions, presentations. We do the team paragraph as well. In the history course, you do different units. One is on foreign aid, one is on climate change. There's a unit on media literacy. And then in the religion course, which actually I teach, we study Buddhism and Islam, and we finish with a unit on ethics. So it's a great class, a great sequence of classes, because it gets students introduced to lots of different topics in our discipline, and then they're ready for 10th grade world history. You're muted, Mr. Cunha.
Thanks, Ms. Klump. All right, so we're going to go to Miss Garrity now. And so Miss Garrity, we've heard it referenced before about core. What is the core class that 9th graders take?
Great. Hi, everybody. I'll start by introducing myself too. I'm Mrs. Garrity. I actually spent a quick stint as a 9th grade advisor, but I now head up one of the older girls' dorms. It's actually really fun to see some of our dorm mates in this chat room. I also work in the Dean of Students office, and I coach field hockey and lacrosse. So just to give you a little snapshot. But the core class, the 9th grade core class, is actually one of my favorite parts of what we do here and what I get to be a part of here. This class, as Mr. Sawyer referenced earlier, is a combination class and study hall. So really, there's a couple different things that you'll run into throughout the course of a week, but they are all meant to help you kick off your high school career. So they're all meant to help. There is no pressure, there are no grades. This is all discussion-based. And the whole thing was designed about what we feel Williston 9th graders need to know in order to be successful here and beyond. So how we do this is we've kind of combined a couple different things, but our goal is for you to figure out sort of who am I, how can I be my best self, and then how can I both fit into and sort of take care of the community that I'm a part of. So through that, I mean, we hit a couple different topics. It starts off as a class that is sort of like a cognitive psychology class. We'll talk about decision making. We'll talk about attention skills. We'll talk about Let's see what else from there. We'll talk about, from there we go into things like digital citizenship, and we'll talk about the technology specific to Williston. After that, it turns into a little bit more of a health and wellness class. So we can talk about things like sleep hygiene and how to manage stress and how nutrition really plays into how we live our lives. And after that, at the end, we started talking about a little bit more of relationships. So healthy relationships, we'll talk about consent, we'll talk about emotional first aid, and how to help each other, help our community out. And overall, it takes 2 terms. So we meet once a week with our core groups, which is the normal class size. And then we go through the fall and the winter. And it really is, I think, an awesome chance to discuss things, debate things, hear about, hopefully new things to you, and then hear about, how your classmates see them from all different perspectives. So a discussion class, all credit, no credit, and I think really a huge part of the core program and really getting you started in 9th grade.
So Ms. Garrity, a couple questions came in while you were speaking, and if you could address them. One of them is, does the 9th grade core class count as one of your 5 classes in your 9th grade schedule? And if you could just hit on the guidance that we provide for healthy phone usage as well.
Sorry, you cut out on the last piece of that question.
Okay, the first one is about, does the 9th grade core class count as one of the 5?
Okay.
And is there anything in terms of the programming for developing healthy phone usage?
Yes, absolutely. So the first part is it's not part of your 5. So this is, for most people, sort of a 6th block. Again, 1 day a week is our core discussions, and then the other blocks within that week are daytime study halls. So that's when you would go and have a chance to either get some work done in that classroom with a 9th grade advisor in the room, which can be helpful. It's also a chance that you could sign out and go get extra help from a different teacher, or whatever could help you during that point in your academic world. So it is a 6th block, but at that point it's meant to help you, manage all of your other time. As far as phone usage, we actually do talk about phones a lot in a couple different ways. I do work with a couple offices on this campus. I work very closely with health and wellness and our counselors, but I also work quite closely with our technology office and our academic tech department. So they actually come into class. We take this from a couple different ways. We talk about digital citizenship, of course, how we behave, how we view things, how we present ourselves online, and that could be phones or computers or wherever else. We talk about privacy quite a bit, privacy, protecting ourselves, just making sure that you're safe in everything that you're doing online and how you put yourself out there. Phones also tend to come up quite a bit when we're talking about both sleep and stress, and how they can help you and how they can not help you. So talking about good habits and how to really, live your best life here, often, for better or for worse, does come back to our phone usage. You're muted still.
Thank you. So thank you. So we're going to go to Sonia next. And Sonia, the question that we have is, what are the types of activities held in the dorm on school days and on the weekends? And are there any cool traditions in the dorm?
So, hi everyone, I'm Sonia. I'm a junior and I'm a proctor in the 9th grade girls dorm 194. So in the dorm, we have plenty of activities. One of my favorites is mug nights, where at the beginning of the year, we come together and we all decorate mugs. And I actually have mine from freshman year, sophomore year, and junior year still. So then throughout the year, we'll have mug nights where we get different things. Recently, we just did milkshake night, which was really exciting. And I know my freshman year, one of my favorite ones was a spa night, which was fun. So they're all different themes, and it just brings the dorm together and creates a really inviting community in the dorm. And then we also do birthday cupcakes. So once a month, anyone who had a birthday within the month gets up and Miss Marsland will bake us cupcakes and everyone will sing to the person that had their birthday. And then during the holidays, we do secret snowflakes. So we'll randomly choose a name, and then after break, we'll come back. First, we have to decorate the person's door with a holiday theme. And then after break, we come back and give our gift to our secret snowflake. And then the boys' dorm does something called Terrific Tuesdays, where on Tuesdays, they'll end study hall a little bit early and come together and do an event or something like play ping pong or pool and just come together and get to know each other. And then there's also really fun traditions like Willimpics, which is Williston's own Olympics in the fall, which got very competitive this year, which has activities like the lip sync and a banner decorating contest and also a wall sit, things like that. So that's between all the dorms, and the day students get their own team and you compete to get a trophy, and you get the trophy for a year if you win. So that's really fun, and since it's at the beginning of the year, it allows us not only to get closer to people in our dorm, but meet people in other dorms and day students. And then during the holidays, there's a gingerbread making contest between the dorms and day students, which is a lot of fun too.
Okay, thank you. And so just as a follow-up, just as a proctor, could you, one of the questions came in about kind of conflicts with roommates and conflicts in the dorm. Could you speak a little about your experience, kind of what you've seen, how you've addressed that?
Yeah, so obviously roommate issues, they're kind of bound to happen after living with someone, but I think the proctors in the dorm do a really good job at working together and letting each other know what's going on. And also it's really important for us to realize not to take one of the kids' side, although we might be closer with the other. Like, I always make sure to get both sides of the story, and obviously whatever I'm talking about with the student is going on between me and her, and if it's necessary for the dorm parent to know, they'll find out about it, but there's no gossiping going on between it, and it's just they're receiving the advice that I personally would give to them. And also, I know we did it my freshman year and this year, but we did things called roommate contracts. So the roommates would come together and make a contract and then get it approved by Ms. Marsland, I believe. And they would have this contract to refer back to if there were any issues. So it could be as simple as like who would take out the trash or who was vacuuming, little things like that. So if they did get in a fight, they go back to the contract and say, hey, we agreed not to do this, and just bring it back and resolve those issues.
Thank you. So Trevor, you're online here. As a proctor in John Hazen White, anything you want to add to this?
So I'll quickly introduce myself. I'm Trevor. I'm a senior, and I'm from Long Island, New York. Kind of touching on what Sonia said, the proctors act as really good kind of intermediaries between different roommates or different students in the dorm and the dorm parents. As the proctors, we're able to really relate to students on a different level that the dorm parents would, and we're able to connect with them because they're more comfortable coming to us than dorm parents with certain things, which just comes as being a student instead of a dorm parent. So I think it's great that we're able to kind of intervene and de-escalate things before they get to kind of a point of no return.
All right, thanks, Trevor. So the next question that came in, I'm going to kick this one to Mr. Dietrich. And part of it's related to us doing a Zoom because it's about COVID-19. And regarding completion of the 2019-20 academic year, what potential impacts to the beginning of next year's academic year is Williston preparing for? Specifically as it relates to placement of new inbound students, is there potential for delayed entry if needed for completion of current academic year, or placement assessment if the student's prior year is incomplete?
All right, thank you so much. And I guess before I answer, thank you so much. I'm Chris Dietrich. I'm the Dean of Enrollment here at Williston. I know many of you are on the panel that we had last night as well, but I just wanted to say thank you for everybody for being here. I know these are, I guess this relates to the answer or the question that I'm answering. These are really interesting and complicated times for all of us. And I just want to thank you for being here, and I'm excited to see all of you. It's been really buoying to see, particularly our students on these calls that we've had the last couple of days, just because it feels good to see them all happy, safe, and healthy. So, this is a great question, and to be honest, I wish I had a better, more firm answer. But what I can tell you is that we are meeting as a school. We are meeting. A senior administrative group is meeting every single day to talk for an hour and a half about what's going on, handling questions about what we're doing as a school. It is an incredibly thoughtful, wise group. And it has been amazing to see the way we've been able to talk through issues that we're facing as a school. This is one that I'm sure we will handle as a group as well, and I'm sure that'll be a big portion of my part that I'm going to play on that group. What I can tell you is that we are going to be as flexible as we can and as we need to be. We know that there's uncertainty for us right now about how we're going to begin online classes next Thursday, and that's going to be a whole new brave world for us. And our hope is that it's only for a few weeks, but we don't know right now, obviously. So we're going to work with our individual families depending on their schooling. Again, none of us know what's going to happen. So if there are situations where incoming students have incompletes from their schools or have pass fails or whatever the case may be, we're going to work with them if we have to do some placement testing to make sure they're put in the right classes. I do not anticipate having to have students stay home and re-enter a year later, those sorts of things. I don't anticipate that happening for us as a school. I have talked a little bit with directors of admission, friends of mine at other schools. This topic has come up. So I think we're all going to be very flexible with you all as families. And really our goal is going to be to make sure that students coming in, particularly in this group being ninth graders coming in are going to be placed in the right classes so that they're able to have the same successful career at Williston that they would have had they been in a traditional classroom for the rest of the year. So.
Thank you. Yeah. So the next question that came in, Dylan, we're going to ask you to answer this one. This is probably the most open-ended one that we've gotten, which is, can you try new things?
Well, yes, that's the first answer. But I don't know why my screen got all weird for a sec, but, hi, my name's Dylan. I'm a senior this year, 6th-year senior. I came to Williston in 7th grade. So when I came to Williston in 7th grade, I kind of thought of it as a blank slate. I switched my 3 main sports, soccer, basketball, and lacrosse, switched to sports I didn't even know existed before Williston. For instance, squash, which Sonia at the bottom of my screen also plays with me. But I switched to volleyball, squash, and water polo. And I switched to squash my freshman year, actually. And through these new experiences, I really began to my mom's cooking dinner, began to understand how inclusive and welcoming and warm Williston really was. I grew up on campus, but I really didn't get that insight until I tried these new sports. And it's really changed my life. But also this year, I tried out for the musical, which was completely new for me. Jason's also in the musical. But not that I wasn't completely terrified, just as I was trying out for specifically water polo, which is a terrifying sport to think about. But everybody was just so supportive and inclusive. And at Williston, everybody's encouraged to try new things like most places, but I feel like we're really special here because everybody's trying new things. You don't feel singled out ever. And it really, you also get introduced to everybody in the upper school. I think that the inclusion between grades is really special at Williston.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Dylan. So so we're fortunate to have a current parent with us as well tonight. And so this one here can get answered by Ms. Crovo. Kristen, what kind of communication do parents get from the school?
Hi, everyone. I'm Kristen Crovo. We have a freshman daughter, and we're fortunate enough that she lives in 194 with a lot of the people on this page. The communication from the school has been fantastic. On a weekly basis, we get a weekly email from Kathy Nobles, who's the dean, and it explains to us everything that's going on campus. I know exactly what my daughter's doing Friday nights, Saturday nights, what activities are going on. We use the Veracross portal as a communication tool all the time. That shows us our daughter's schedule. There are progress reports from the teachers posted there. On a little more of a personal level, I've emailed teachers like Mr. Sawyer. He's gotten back to me right away. There's always very clear communication from the teachers. On more of an informal level, I feel very comfortable with my daughter living in the dorms. I'm in constant communication with Ms. Marsland, who's both her advisor and her dorm parent, as well as Ms. Talbot, who's her hockey coach. There was a situation where she was homesick at one point, And I would say almost before I even knew about it, and my daughter's very open about communicating with us, I had a text from Miss Talbot, from Miss Marsland. I know that she had been talking with Sonia, her proctor. So we're very comfortable with the communication. It's been really outstanding. As a parent with a boarding student, I can't say enough good things about it.
All right, thank you so much.
Sure.
So now we're going to go to somebody that you know, Natalie. So Natalie, so the question that we have is about roommates. Tell me about your roommate experience as a ninth grader.
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Natalie, I'm a sophomore, and I'm from Franklin, Massachusetts, and here at Williston, I play varsity field hockey, ice hockey, and softball, and it's actually my second year living in 194, so I'm one of a handful of sophomores that are living in 194 again. And so when I was coming into my freshman year, we filled out like a roommate survey questionnaire thing, and then we got assigned our roommates. And so my roommate is from Tokyo. I love her, and it's just, your roommate is normally someone that's like from far away from you, like from a different country. And so my roommate being from Japan, we both learned a lot from each other. And having a roommate is just, it's like a really special thing, because I have all my friends from my sports, but then like, it's almost just like having a friend that like you can talk to other things about and like work out other things like with. And so also, I think Sonia had mentioned a little earlier, but like in the dorm, we were doing like the roommate contracts. We've done that to make sure you're getting along with your roommate. And so at the end of your first year, you can decide if you want to have the same roommate. And so in my case, we were roommates again this year. And I think we want to keep doing that because we get along really well. And yeah, I love my roommate. And if things aren't going well, there's people that will help you. And yeah, come to Williston.
Right. Thanks, Natalie. So so from here we're going to go. Trevor, I brought you in earlier as a proctor. So one of the questions was, are there proctors and prefects in the dorm? Is it upperclassmen, proctors and prefects living with younger students? And what do they do? So if you want to try to tackle this one.
Yeah, definitely. So every dorm has proctors. In Hazen, the proctors are all either juniors or seniors. And in the other dorms, it's pretty consistent, even with the junior and senior dorms. Like Sonia had mentioned, we sometimes can intervene if there's roommate conflicts or things like that in the dorm, but we also serve a different purpose. We usually run study halls every night, can check students in. Something I've been doing a lot is I tutor a lot of kids in various subjects, like physics, math, chemistry, on a pretty nightly basis. So I have a lot of good connections with the kids that they don't have with different people just because of my role. And I feel that it allows them to kind of open up and get support that they need.
Thank you, Trevor. You failed to mention your unofficial role as big brother to the Hanford and Cunha children.
Yes, that's true. I'm fortunate enough to watch Gus, which is Mr. Cunha's kid, and Ryan, Tiggy, and Will, which are Mr. Hanford's kids, pretty consistently, which is great.
All right. So so we're going to go to Benning next. This is one of my favorite questions. Is there a lot to do in town, and can ninth graders take advantage of that? Benning.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Benning. I'm from Quechee, Vermont. I'm a sophomore. So, yeah, I think Williston's sort of like the best of both worlds. We have a beautiful campus, but we're also in such a great town that is East Hampton. At a lot of schools, I feel like you're sort of tucked up on a hill, and it is beautiful, but I feel like at Williston, we sort of have the best of both worlds. And so there's a ton of stuff to do. There's La Veracruzana, which is one of my favorite Mexican restaurants, Glory of India, which has Indian food, the diner, which is always really good. And so there's a ton to do in town. We have campus boundaries. And so the school is very respectful of your freedom. But to a certain level, we have an app called Reach that we use, and it takes 15 seconds. You open it up, click a button, you say, oh, I'm going to Dunkin' Donuts, which is right behind our English and math building. or you say, oh, I'm going to Family Dollar, or you select a certain location, it takes 15 seconds, and then the administration will know where you are. So it's a really nice system that we use, super easy. So they know you're safe, but then you can also go explore East Hampton. There's a ton to do in the town, different food places to go. Mount Tom's has some of the best ice cream around, and it's just a really great place to live.
All right, thank you, Benning. So so another question that came in that is in reference to kind of the college process. Even though you guys are ninth graders, what programs, processes do you have to help the kids prepare for college applications, and what aspects of Williston make your students successful as college applicants? I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Hanford, who as a friend and neighbor, I know he writes a lot of college recommendations. So Mr. Hanford, you want to try to take this one?
Yep. Hello again. So as far as the college process goes, it starts in the winter of junior year, where the juniors all get assigned to one of, I believe, 5 college counselors, and they meet regularly. And the college counselor gets to know them and what they're interested in, and also help kind of go through schools and you know what's going to be a good fit for the student. As far as going to school at a place like this, even if you're a day student, you're going to know your teachers very, very well. And you know, I teach in addition to freshmen, I teach juniors and seniors, and so I get to see them kind of grow through their years at Williston, but also I know them so well when I have them as they get older, and so the recs that I write are really coming from a place of deep knowledge, and most of the recs I write have a personal story in there about them that lets the admissions of the different colleges that they're applying to really get to know the applicant. And so that's one of the things that I think is huge for a place like us, is that not only are we in the dorms, in the classroom, or just as advisees, but we get to know them on a very personal level. Junior year, we start towards the end of the term, we start working on personal essays, and what we do is we kind of arm those kids with the tools necessary for when their parents come talking to them in July asking about the college essay. They can kind of take something out and say, well, I've been working on 3 or 4 already, and you know, here they are. In addition, in senior year, the first 3 or 4 weeks are dedicated again to personal essay and kind of learning the craft even more, so that we do a lot of quick writes and free writes, and reading great essayists and try to apply some of the skills and techniques that they have that they use in their own writing. So you know, it's not uncommon for a student, you know, in November to send their application in and say, you know, hey, Hanford, I just took that essay that we wrote when we read an E.B. White essay, and it turned out to be a really, really awesome piece for my application. So we're with you the entire way. And to put a plug in for the college counselors, they're awesome, and they care so much about the kids and really do a lot for getting them prepared. But you're not just a number to them. They really they know you and do as much as they can to help you kind of wade through the process and calm anxiety. And I know they do that for parents as well, because it's a very anxiety-inducing time. So
and I'll add to that. I mean, the 9th and 10th grade program, or 9th and 10th graders do have access to the college counselors. It's scaffolded into our Compass program. As early as 10th grade, we start taking the PSATs in terms of the preparation. There's a lot of work, as Mr. Hanford talked about, in terms of individual work with the college counseling office, but just access to mock interview help and college fairs. And there's a lot of resources at the hands of all of our students. Predominantly, I think the juniors and seniors are the ones who are going to be in the thick of it. But we open up our college counselors to our students as early as 9th grade, so they're getting that exposure as well. Going to go to Mr. Hill for this question, since this was when you were here, Mr. Hill. The benefits of trimesters and the managing the balance of the stress or not getting stressed in a trimester situation.
I'm happy to answer that. Thanks, Derek. And as an unreconstructed director of college advising, I too will put a great plug in for the 4 professionals who work over in our office, starting with the leader, Catherine McGraw, who was a associate director of admissions at Mount Holyoke College before she came to lead this side. There's tremendous experience in our office. And again, I'd be happy to take any questions offline about that. But as a head of school who's been here for 10 years, also as a parent of 2 students who went through the college process, I can tell you it was one of the, they did a much better job than I ever did when I was a college counselor. So on the trimesters and the question that Mr. Cunha asked about that, the great thing about trimesters is when I first came to the school, there were semesters, which is 2. And with trimesters, we could break things up into 3 and offer many, many more electives for kids. And so it really expanded the curriculum, allowing students to put together different programs that they were really interested in, but also to explore more fully other areas. So I'm a big proponent of the trimester system. Just as an example, we have a program called Williston Scholars, which is really for juniors and seniors, high-end college level independent scholarship work. And with trimesters, it's actually allowed us to move that around into different points in the year so students could best represent themselves, also with an eye towards their college application. So trimesters, fantastic. And I hope that one of the things that everyone's taken away from this session tonight is that at every level, Williston is this incredibly caring place for each individual in the community. So back to you, Mr. Cunha.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hill. So we are coming up on 8 o'clock. There are some questions that are still left unanswered, and for those of you who were with us yesterday, we didn't do this yesterday. We're going to try this, a little lightning round of questions. The challenge is my partner, Mr. Dietrich, is not very short with his answers, so we're going to challenge him to be succinct on these. So, Mr. Dietrich, the best that you can do here.
I'm ready.
You ready to go?
Ready.
Okay, so the first question, do we have grade level dorms?
So the only grade level dorms that we have, all 9th grade boarding girls live in 194 dorm, and all 9th grade boys live in John Hazen White dorm. Some 10th graders live in those dorms as well, but that's the only grade that lives exclusively in one dorm. Other dorms, we try to keep as many close to their grades, so mostly 10th and 11th or 11th and 12th.
Okay, not bad. Next one, do students have to move every year?
Not every year. Some students live in the same dorms for more than 1 year. Sometimes they choose to move into different dorms. So that's partly a choice. There you go.
Okay. Are sports required of our students?
So afternoon program is required of our students. So everyone has to do something every afternoon and every season. Many students participate in some level of athletics in each season, but we have other things like our arts intensive program. Sometimes the performing arts is an option. Some of our students even participate in helping out at our children's center. So there are other options for folks that are not athletic.
Okay, and this one just came in. When will boarding students move into their dorms prior to the first day of school?
So we have a wonderful setup of what we call welcome days, and they're staggered a little bit. So in the fall, sometimes we have students that are coming back for preseason athletics. So if they're going to be participating on the varsity level of a team, they may come back a couple days early. International students come back for a multi-day orientation program. Our 9th graders come back for the program that we've talked about in this, and then kind of everyone else comes on another day. They're terrific welcome days, so you're staggered. We like to give you a couple of days to settle in, and then everyone does orientation after they've moved in.
Okay, and last one, can the admission office have a day off tomorrow?
I'll get back to you.
Okay. Everybody, thank you so much for being with us tonight. Keep in mind that this was recorded today, so we'll try to send it out to you. I know we didn't get through all of the questions. There are some a bit that were that were not addressed, we will get to those. What I mentioned at the beginning, accessibility, accessibility, accessibility. Don't hesitate to reach out to us. If there are things that, that you want to see more of from us, let us know. We do have, we're going to have videos coming up next week. We've got some more panels that's going to be happening. Mr. Dietrich?
I just wanted to mention that we do have 2 panels already planned, and we're going to continue to do these, but 2 next week on Tuesday night, if you can join us. One is going to be focused on academic life at Williston, and one is going to be focused on student life. And we're going to bring even more people that you haven't met yet. So,
okay. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I'll reiterate what people have said. We hope we see you here in the fall.
Bye, everybody.